Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Worst. First, let me say I'm sorry I haven't produced one of these in a little bit. Got busy, here we are. My apologies. So, for this week's episode of The Worst, I had to change my topic just slightly to actually expand it. So originally I was going to talk about something and then I just realized it's actually a bigger deal than I thought. It's more bad, it's worse than I thought. So this week's episode of The Worst, we are going to be talking about arguing. Now, I'm not going to be talking about like arguing in general. I'm talking about arguing in our current context, debate in our current context, in our culture, in our society, whatever. Like having a debate with somebody right now is the worst. Okay, first coffee, then we're going to get into it. So initially I was going to talk about this from a framework of online debate. Online debate is the worst. There's no, come on, let's be honest. We already know this. I'm going to tell you why in a second. But then I started having or listening or being a part of a variety of different discussions over the last several months. And there's been some stuff. There's a pandemic, apparently. There's an election. There's some stuff that kind of gets people riled up. And it just kind of demonstrated to me what I think I already knew. And that is our ability as a society to have thoughtful, provocative, meaningful discussion, debate, discourse has largely gone away. We are very incapable of this right now. And to me, that's very sad. I'll comment a little bit later about some of the long-term stuff that's going to affect, but let's move on and talk about some of this stuff online. Okay, so I teach humanities. We have an argumentative paper at some point in one of my classes. We got an argumentative speech in my public speaking class. It's something that I care about. It's something that I think is a very important skill to develop. And it saddens me that we have come to this point where I am literally saying debate is the worst. Now, if you're on a debate team, I'm not talking about you, okay? You probably know how to handle this well, right? Rebutting and, making points and using evidence and that type of thing. Rhetorical devices, great. I'm talking about the way most people talk about things and debate things currently in our society. It's terrible. Let's start with the online. This was my original idea here. Online debate. I'm going to put this into two categories. The first, and you've all seen these, so you probably know what I'm talking about. The first I would call the troll debate. So it doesn't matter what the topic is. It could be, is this dress blue or is Donald Trump Satan? It doesn't really matter what the debate is, where you fall on it. These debates invariably wind up with a bunch of people anonymously, and I say anonymous because they don't actually know each other, they haven't met probably, cursing at each other, throwing down actual curses and wishing horrible violence and death and all these other things on each other, and just basically yelling at each other on the internet. Now, the fact that I'm bringing this up, you should be rolling your eyes and being like, why do people do that? I don't know, but they do, and you see it regularly. A little bit less, I think, right now, but regularly you see people having the most pointless debates. And when I say pointless, I don't mean that the topic that they're talking about is pointless or not important. I mean the way they're talking is pointless because no one's listening. That's what I'm trying to say, people. No one's listening to the other side. It's not like the guy who just wished your family was eaten by a pack of wild dogs is suddenly going to listen and be like, you make a good point. I take back the curse and I have now changed the way I think because of you on your Facebook debate. Never happened. It never happened. Okay? So that's the one kind, this troll. So basically you're just trolling each other. You're yelling, you're cursing, and just doing all kinds of horrible things online because it doesn't cost you anything apparently. It will cost you as a viewer your mental health. It'll cause you to stress out, and it's really not a great use of your time. Let's be honest. And the fact is you're probably not going to be convinced to change your mind on any of these subjects anyway by these troll debates. So that moves us to the next type of online debate, which I refer to as the echo chamber debate. Now, I myself have a reasonably broad group of people I associate with on social media and in real life. I think that's healthy. If you have everybody in your life, by the way, side note, if you have everyone in your life agrees with you on everything, it's time to look for a new group of friends. Mark Twain said that a lot more eloquently than I did, but I think that his point is well taken. So just kind of take inventory there. If you agree with everything everybody says around you, let's think about expanding your friend group maybe. In any case, an echo chamber debate is basically where people who all say or think the same thing just debate the issue. It's not even a debate. You just say the same points or versions of the same point over and over again. And basically it winds up with everyone just saying, yeah, yeah, and raising their voice louder in agreement. And it's not a debate. It's just like, okay. Now, there's a nuanced version of this that I'm seeing more and more. And this is less online and more in, trainings that we are now doing, I guess you would say. And to that, so this is where I kind of had to expand it, because I think it is going offline into the real world to a certain extent as well. And I would say first that this echo chamber debate, I say it in quotes, it's not really a debate because you're not allowing for somebody to disagree with you. You are not allowing for some other viewpoints to be presented and honestly discussed. And again, when I say discussed, I mean like considered. You might still maintain your position or hold your belief after listening to somebody else from a different viewpoint, but at least you're talking about it, right? That's what I'm saying. And in an echo chamber, you're not. You're just echoing or repeating the same ideas that everyone else in that echo chamber has. There's no point or profit other than to reassure yourself that you're right. Cool. Really awesome. Okay. Now, how this manifests itself sometimes in our modern kind of quote-unquote discourse is that, you'll say things that basically shut down, or you'll hear things that basically shut down discussion or debate. And it's manipulative. It's almost like gaslighting, right? You're basically trying to get the other side, or the listeners, whoever else is listening to your discussion, to come to your viewpoint by shutting down any opposition. So there's a lot of phrases that I've noticed more and more, and if you look at rhetorical debate, they're very fallacious. In other words, they're flawed. So things like this side of history or the wrong side of history. We've maybe heard that one before. If somebody uses that, it's not necessarily that they are wrong in their position. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's lazy. That's a way of saying if you disagree, you're on the wrong side of history. That shuts down free thought is what that does. That shuts down any dissent. And I'd say it shuts down, I don't mean that you're proving that you're right. I mean that you are saying and basically sending a message to those who are listening to you that we are not going to actually debate this. I'm saying my position and I don't believe in any other position. That's what you're saying. Another way of doing that is saying like, scientists say this or whatever. You study history, you know how crazy some of the things scientists have said over the years that have been completely disproven over time? The arrogance, and again, I'm not saying they're wrong on any given topic. And I'm not talking about a specific thing here. I'm saying the idea that because scientists say this, it must be true. They have said many things over the course of centuries that have been absolutely disproven over time. The consensus at some point in time in Europe was that the Earth was flat, for example. Where are we at on that one, scientists? I mean, I'm just saying, again, I'm trying to prove to you that by saying that, what you're doing, you're using what's called a bandwagon or kind of an ad populum type argumentation, and it's just lazy. I'm not saying you can't appeal to science or appeal to studies or things like that. That's great. But let's pick something specific and not just say scientists. Well, because there's a lot of scientists. There's a lot of different fields of science. There are a lot of different studies. There's a lot of different hypotheses and theories and proofs and, non-examples and all kinds of things. The scientific method in and of itself says it's all repeatable. Well, okay, that doesn't always work, though. okay? It doesn't always work. So you gotta be a little bit more engaged in the topic in saying your debate, your position. You need to nuance it and give me some specifics. Otherwise, you're just kind of trying to manipulate me and saying, well, if you disagree with me, you're disagreeing with science, and therefore you're a science rejecter and you're a moron, is what you're saying. No, that's lazy, people. Don't be lazy. You can do better than that. One of the later ones I've said, I've heard, I said, it was like, we know X, like whatever the subject, we now know this. And by saying that, again, it's not that it's necessarily wrong. It might be, it might not be. It's debatable, though. It's debatable. It's something that there are many smart people and many not smart people who have different viewpoints on this. There's a spectrum. Not everybody agrees with what you're saying. You saying we know just says, I don't want to hear what you have to think. I don't care about your opinion if it disagrees with me. So what I'm trying to make this point is, like, we have lost this ability because we just want to be right. We just want to be in agreement with everyone, or rather, we want everyone to be in agreement with us. It's coming to the point where we can't really have honest discussions anymore. There's very little compromise I'm seeing. There's very little honest and open discourse, and that's sad. We grow as a society, people, by challenging one another. And I'm not saying we don't grow. Like, let's say you have all these views and you're using this type of method of argumentation, the echo or the troll or whatever, and your view, let's just say it's right. Let's just pick a topic that we know is, there's one way of thinking. The earth is not flat, for example. Okay? Eventually, we might get there as a society where we agree with you because it's clearly proven. But until we're at that point where everyone agrees, let's not pretend we all agree, and let's be willing to have an honest discussion about it and not treat each other, if we disagree, as terrorists or horrible people or big, whatever. You know, there's a lot of people who have different viewpoints, and that's okay. Some viewpoints are more disturbing than others, but if we can talk about them and engage with each other in a way that is civil, then we can probably grow a little bit more as a society, I would think. Oh, people, it saddens me that we have come to this point. I hope to hear in my messages or my comment thread a lot of you debating whether or not the earth is flat. That's what I'm hoping to stir up here, is the flat earth debate. There's actually still a flat earth society, by the way. But ultimately, people, I really hope that we can one day return to a time where discourse, where debate is a healthy and encouraged thing that doesn't result in death threats, that doesn't result in canceling and all this other stuff. Because we are free-thinking individuals. At least we have been in the past. Let's get back there again, my friends. Until next time, just remember, life's about choices. We'll see you around, peeps.